Welcome back to No More Heroes. It's back on the John again for one last No More Heroes 2 fight.
Very polite of them to let us pull our pants up before we get started.
Well, it's a dream, so... Yeah, and the last one,
Gotcha.
he's... Yeah,
What,
well, because
okay,
he knows what's going on at this point. He's not,
yeah,
shocked.
Alice Twilight.
Yeah, the Doc Ock one.
Alice Twilight was the one he cut up into little pieces.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, it splits in half. Because I recall her falling down towards Travis as she's dying. And he splits in half on her way down.
Does this one have a tragic backstory?
Oh no, this is a different boss than the one I'm thinking of.
No,
This is
she's just a person. She's just a person you fight, Ted.
This is the one you fight on the rooftop, isn't it?
I think so.
Alice is one of the only assassins that kind of accepts her fate as what she is. You know, because she's number one in Desperate Struggle. And her dialogue before Travis is like, this life is no life at all. And no matter who takes my spot, it's the same thing over and over again. The cycle would just repeat. And this gives Travis the idea to maybe the UAA is actually not all it's cracked up to be, and Sylvia is a total bitch.
What?
Yeah, it doesn't go anywhere. Because they still end up, screwing in the end.
Yeah.
Any kind of storyline like that is kind of hamstrung by the fact that the UAA was supposed to be a big-ass scam in the first game anyway. So, I don't get it.
And then they only made a legit one because Travis got really famous by doing all this in the first place. So the UAA in 2 is basically just a copycat.
Oh.
It's a character I like design-wise. I'm actually surprised they didn't bring the Gothic girl.
Oh, Alice Moonlight.
For the no, that's her.
All right, I get it.
Alice Moonlight is her.
Yeah, I know you're
I forgot
talking
the name
about.
of her. Yeah, you know who I'm talking about. But she was considered one of the most popular characters of Desperate Struggle.
Yeah,
It's not because of her design, but because of her boss fight music.
Yeah. She had a catchy theme song.
Yeah.
Which is
Catchy as hell.
which is always good to have as a boss.
Yeah.
She's not too hard, but she can get kind of tricky. If only because she's more mobile than you think she is.
Well, again, she was number one in the Desperate Struggle. The Desperate Struggle. Okay.
Cut off the robotic arms while she's down, Travis. Or don't. See if I care.
She never gets the idea to spin the blades like General Grievous.
Yeah.
General Grievous, I'm sorry.
I mean, it didn't do anything against Obi-Wan, so...
Well, that was kind of the whole point, is that General Grievous, he starts off the battle being like, oh, look at how cool I am. And then he ends up falling apart, almost immediately. And then
He doesn't have the Force on his side, so there's only so much he can do in terms of predicting attacks.
Yeah, so he really ends up being more effective in the fight once he starts using the fact that he's a general, where he, has an army to command and gadgets and stuff and a bike to ride, as opposed to trying to be a lightsaber-wielding Jedi killer kind of guy. Because that was the whole shtick behind him having so many lightsabers in the first place, was he stole them from all the Jedi.
One of the reasons Grievous
He stole them from Jedi Shaggy, yeah.
One of the reasons Grievous was able to win the way he did was because the Jedi Order prior to the Clone Wars had kind of let, lightsaber dueling fall out of fashion among themselves. Apart from the occasional person who was really enthusiastic about it, like Dooku, who ended up being on the wrong side, so... yeah, that didn't turn out well. So... yeah, Grievous was winning against a bunch of scrubs for the most part.
Yeah, like I said, Jedi Shaggy. That's actually legit, by the way.
Wait, what?
Yeah, there's
okay.
Jedi Shaggy in the final episode of the first season of the cartoon Clone Wars series that was on Cartoon Network, the miniseries.
That was tying into episode 3 beforehand.
Yeah, he
So
well,
to show
I
off
know
how
about
bad it...
that, but is he voiced by Shaggy?
He really did
No,
look like Jedi Shaggy.
Yeah, no, that's intentional. They wanted to have a cowardly Jedi to get curb stomped by Grievous to show how awesome he was. So they gave him kind of the brownish, poofy hair,
The
kind of the
stubble.
more the stubble, the more roundish face.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Oh,
it's,
geez,
it's,
Scoob!
You say curb stomped, but that's literally what happens. Grievous like drops off of the ceiling and smashes him with his feet. So,
yeah, no, it's actually Jedi Shaggy. It's really
yeah.
funny.
Of course, that was the version of General Grievous that they had before they decided to add the whole coughing thing to him.
Well, they
Yeah.
add that. Well, that I remember from the miniseries. Windu.
Windu
like,
crushes his
wings.
lungs, yeah. And
Yeah.
that was their way of compensating for the fact that they changed his concept a little between the cartoon and the movie. But then, like, the Clone Wars series comes out and kind of confuses that. So,
Are both supposed to be canon?
well, I know that Clone Wars is currently canon, and so is Rebels, and the two tie together because Ahsoka Tano is in both. But other than that, I'm not really sure where the cartoon itself fits in. The cartoon introduced Asajj Ventress, who's in the Clone Wars series, but I'm not sure about the second miniseries. Like, I'm not sure where that fits in, because that's supposed to roll directly into the Clone Wars movie, into the Revenge of the Sith movie. Like, it ends where it begins. I don't really understand.
Shit gets confusing.
Yeah.
It's almost like they're making up all this extended universe stuff up as they go.
Yeah, they are, kind of. That's why half of it, well, 90% of it got decanonized when Disney took over, because they didn't want to deal with the headache anymore. It is funny, though, how, like, all the cool stuff in the Star Wars universe, all the coolest stuff anyway, happens in the extended universe and makes the stuff in the movies look really tame by comparison.
I had enough money to get another upgrade. Yay.
Excellent.
So that's something I obviously didn't have max money to get the infinite battery, but it is what it is.
It's really good though.
Yeah.
So you never
Not
have
cheap.
to
Charge
Charge.
again.
Never have to recharge, and you can spam charge attacks like no tomorrow.
So, but you can get just general battery upgrades.
Yeah.
then? All right.
Makes it so you don't have to charge as often.
Right.
Obviously, you have to save up a ton to get the infinite battery, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, now we're going to be off to the final boss.
I gotta say, the constant screen tearing in this version is really distracting.
Yeah.
Normally, that kind of stuff doesn't bother me too bad, but I don't think I've ever seen a game where it happens this frequently. Or
To an extent, I remember the I don't remember if it was the original PS3 release of Resident Evil 5 or the original PC release of Resident Evil 5 had the worst screen tear you could possibly imagine. I couldn't play the game.
ooh, that bad.
Like, it was just that bad. Yeah.
I feel like that's a more common thing on certain PC rigs, but I'm also not a PC person, so don't quote me on that one.
Well,
So you're
it's-
politically incorrect.
On PC, screen tearing is generally a result of you turning off VSync in order to make it perform better, depending on what kind of.
Yeah, you can actually see it right now on top of Travis.
Yeah.
This is the Assassins Association, right? Look, I gotta talk
So
to
after
you.
all this time,
Oh
he finally
no,
gets...
this is the police. Oh, prank call. Bye.
No, he finally gets the nerve. He finally actually bothers to call the association card
Whoa.
that she gave him at the start, and it just leads to her mom's phone.
Oh.
Run that by me again.
So
Why-
Sylvia's. So
Why would
Sylvia's
sh-
just been having him kill random people for no reason.
No, she's conning everyone.
I know, but that's what I mean. Like, she's been just having him kill people
Yeah,
that aren't assassins. All right.
more or less.
Well, no, they are assassins, but they're all getting duped into thinking there is a UAA.
So nobody bothered to call their hotline?
No, I guess not.
I guess not.
Are you telling me this was all just bullshit?
And yet, you still go along with the final ranked battle.
I mean, to be fair, Travis literally has nothing better to do at this point.
Are you serious? What's the point? This is all some make-believe charade.
Yeah, just like a game, Travis. Hey.
Eh. You know, it's cool when games do this kind of thing. That being said, I think there are a few too many games that try to do this kind of thing all at once.
What
And
do
it's
you mean, like just having a plot twist in general, or
not just having a plot twist in general, but trying to deconstruct video games. It's
well,
kind of
you know,
like
it happens, you know, when you get to the point where, you know, you're trying to make games about something, and making games about video games is an easy step because
I
it's
mean
something
specifically deconstruct, as in like, oh look, this stuff you're doing in the video game is so morally reprehensible. I guess we hate fun. Maybe I don't know. Puts me in a
Also,
bad mood when I see it too often, because it's like,
You know what? You know what also puts me in a bad mood? When the game steals my bike.
that too. Although, you know, running is almost an improvement.
No, it's so much slower.
No, not really.
I guess the thing I'm trying to say is that you know, the Watchmen.
I don't mind.
Watchmen were great, but if every comic book were the Watchmen, there'd be no fun.
I don't mind. I don't mind deconstruction, but have a point to your deconstruction.
That too, yeah. That's
You know, that's this kind of thing. If the entire point of your game is to deconstruct, it's like, isn't that bad? And I was like, okay, do you want me to do something about it? Do you want me to stop playing the game, or your message is sending me mixed signals? Let's put it that
It's
way.
like there are a surprising number of games that seem to almost like just want to get on your case for liking a specific kind of game. Like you go through a shooter, for example, and then the point at the end of the shooter is that you shouldn't have been going through the shooting.
Okay. Well, you made me go through one.
But you know, I bought this game. It's not like I had an option within the game to not go through the shooting. So what are you trying to tell me? That I shouldn't have played at all?
I mean, you can say no in Super Paper Mario and the game just ends. And then you have to sit through the entire 5-minute intro again, and it's really annoying.
5. It's like 20. It's 5 after you skip all of the text.
I mean, it's one thing if you've got a game like Undertale, which actually, like, the point of the game itself is to do the peaceful friendship route, and the non-peaceful route is just there to give you the option to do the peaceful route. But you know, this, like, when you play No More Heroes, you're going through the assassin route. You know, you're killing these guys. You're killing these guys. When you play Hotline Miami, you're killing guys. You're going through the levels and you're killing guys. And then the point at the end is that you're a fucking psychopath. Okay, yeah, I could have told you that without like it being rubbed in my face. There's nothing wrong with liking a violent video game, though.
Well, can you guys all think of an example of a game that attempted to deconstruct, but it just kind of fell flat on its face in execution?
Well, I mean, we've gone over a couple that don't work already, but honestly, one that I think that does kind of work, and, you know, ironically, because granted, this series does stumble from time to time depending on the game, but the Shin Megami Tensei games actually do kind of deconstruct a lot of RPG tropes and stuff like that pretty frequently. Like, you know, like you can talk, for example, like you can talk to demons and to have them join your team, and you don't have to fight any of them, you know. Like, and there are some relatively interesting moral conundrums that you have to go through, and it's certain. Maybe it's not necessarily a deconstruction. Now that I think about it, because they're not really saying anything too much about the
Medium.
about the medium. Actually, you know what? A better example. Ignore what I just said. A better example is the beginning of Chrono Trigger, where you have the carnival, right?
Yeah.
And then you just dick around in the carnival because it's an RPG. You eat everybody's lunch when
You pick up every item.
Like when the princess falls down, you pick up the shiny thing first because that's what you've been trained to do. And then,
it comes back
2
to bite
hours
you in
later,
the
you
ass.
get put on trial for that kind of shit, And I mean, granted, it's not a major thing. Like, I think, like, if you get found guilty, like, nothing really happens. Like, I think if you get found not guilty, you still get
some items.
anyway, and you
get some items.
Like
people send you gifts in prison that make your time in the dungeon a bit easier. That's about it. Yeah. But it's cool because it's like the game was watching you all along. You can't just thoughtlessly do things. That's the message it sends you, and it's a really thin illusion, but it's nice to have in that kind of game.
Yeah.
I mean, it's also very early for an RPG, but still, it's just like that's kind of deconstructing the kind of crap the jokes everybody makes about JRPGs where you break into people's houses.
Which is so prevalent. Even cartoons make fun of that now.
Yeah.
With Gumball.
It's like
one that kind of does that in a slightly offhand way. It doesn't really do anything with it, but even Doom 2016 kind of calls out that this is hyper violent, and Samuel Hayden even says like, Doom guy, you might have a point, and it probably is the easiest solution, all things considered, but we're not really interested in doing it that way.
Yeah, because I mean, like, all things considered, he's right, because I'm remembering the point is just like, okay,
hell is bad, let's not even deal with it.
Well, like, I mean, no, that's the thing, but on the other hand, it's like, okay, do you have any other ideas for getting the world in access to a clean, renewable energy source? No. Okay. Well, then just shut the fuck up. All right. It's just like, like I know that. Yes, I know that we're playing with forces that we aren't able to mess
the
with,
idea from Doom Guy's perspective is that you're taking such a huge risk that it would be harder to imagine it working than to imagine anything else. So at that point, it's better to just kill the demons and shut the gates of hell completely than to even try to get a clean energy source.
Well, like I can't really remember the lore. It did work for like a good 20 years or something.
It's not a matter of can it work. It's can you keep it working.
Yeah. Like that's the whole thing about the Doom series is that Earth gets invaded by demons. Your pet rabbit dies. Damn it.
He's not wrong.
So it's a situation where you're right to be the brute force guy who just wants to straight up fight and destroy the threat to humanity.
How's that sandwich, John?
I finished it like 10 minutes ago. I'm sorry.
So you were still eating during this part?
No. Well, 10 minutes? Oh, yeah, that was. God, this part's long.
In any case, what I was talking about with
Hey, I asked a question to get conversation going, and it worked.
True.
So you're welcome.
What I was talking about with deconstruction, though, was less about specific cases that work and don't work, and more about the fad of deconstruction itself. It's like there are other ways to make a worthwhile video game story than by deconstructing things that are morally questionable about the medium. I mean, it's one way to say something interesting, but it's not the only way to say something interesting.
I think we saw this with comics in the 80s and 90s. When people realized that you could do this kind of thing, it's just like it became really popular to do so because it's one of the growing pains that a new medium kind of goes through. Like this even happened in
a medium that's starting to get taken seriously is the thing.
Yeah.
Like this even happened in novels too. Is the thing like Don Quixote is like a parody and deconstruction of a lot of fantasy and adventure story tropes, and that book was written in like the 1600s.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
right around the time when the concept of the novel was first coming around. So every medium goes through that kind of
Yeah.
phase for the
There,
most
there are
part.
some authors who basically have built a career around deconstructing stuff like fairy tales, like Confessions of an Ugly Stepsister and all the other stories that guy writes are basically that.
Like, I mean, even Disney does it to their own things, because there's like a Disney Channel series about like the kids of the villains from the Disney movies, and the kids are good guys, but their parents, they have to learn that their parents were actually evil and stuff like that.
Wasn't that
And-
basically the plot of The Lion King too?
Yeah.
Yeah, basically.
Then everyone had to accept that Scar's son was not a bad guy, so stop treating him like shit because his dad was shit.
Yeah, basically.
Wait, isn't that also the plot of the Runaways?
The Marvel series?
The Runaways,
Yeah,
the kids find out that their parents are supervillains, so they run away and try to thwart them. Yeah, that's the basic setup.
It's a good series. Like, I've only read a couple of volumes, but it's entertaining.
It kind of falls off after the first few arcs.
Of course it does.
There's a big old art style change, and the tone changes, and it's not quite as solid after that. It might have reasserted itself after that. I'm not really sure, but the first big story arc is really tons of fun.
Yeah, it's a really good arc, and there's a couple of twists in there that I actually didn't see coming, so I really liked that as well.
There's also like really funny moments where like one of the Runaways is like one of the few remaining mutants after Scarlet Witch or someone altered reality. Is it Scarlet Witch? I think it's not Scarlet Witch.
There's like all sorts of different.
Whoever's
Marvel
Magneto's fucking daughter, like altered reality so that like most of the
that's
mutants
Scarlet
were gone.
Witch.
Scarlet Witch.
Yeah, that's Scarlet Witch.
Yeah, so she altered reality so like most mutants are gone, and like the Punisher finds out the hard way that this little girl is like one of the only ones remaining when she punches him in the stomach, and she's got super strength, and he's like stubbornly trying to remain on his feet because he doesn't want to be knocked to his knees by a little girl. So he just stays there frozen for ages, trying not to fall over. It's like one of the only times I can remember where the Punisher's like super serious personality was played itself as a joke. And that's the kind
Which
of
they
series
should do
Runaways
more
is.
often, to be honest.
Yeah.